Or evening, people. We're just waiting for a few more persons to join us before we begin.
Okay, sir. Good evening.
All right. I'm still a little bit under the weather, but we must proceed. Today we're going to recap. What did I do? The TED Talk, and then we're going to go into looking at speeches for a special occasion. I did in the last lecture. I clearly laid out the roadmap in terms of course completion and all the pieces that are due. Can somebody just remind us what some of the things we discussed in terms of the course assessment? Okay.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
All right, so the TED Talk is due on January 15.
Mm-hmm.
The special occasion is due on the 23rd of January, and the talk show is due on February 6th.
The talk show is due February 6th. What about the did I miss anything? No.
No, those are the three.
Right. So we have three. So we have the TED Talk, outstanding, the speech for special occasion, and the talk show.
Oh, yes,
Right.
sir.
Okay, good. All right. So today I'm going to refresh your recollection in terms of the TED Talk. Just some gentle reminders first. So we spoke about the fact that one, that your TED Talk must be properly branded. And I think I played an example or two from the last class in terms of how the students from that class were able to brand their TED Talks. So the way how the TED Talk actually starts, that's how you ought to brand it. It must seem to be like a TED Talk. It must be branded as a TED Talk. Also, too, you have to dress appropriately for the TED Talk. It would be very unprofessional for your TED Talk, for you to be doing a TED Talk, and then I am hearing cars driving in the background. Your background is not appropriately, doesn't look appropriate, things like that. So it says use a custom background. In other words, anything that will help highlight the words of the talk or call attention to image that you consider to be important, that you'd want to help the audience, that you'd want the audience to use to help them understand the purpose, the focus of your presentation. And in terms of getting some of these images or content, you can go to various platforms such as iStock Photo or Shutterstock, where the images, you can get free images if it is that images are needed. We spoke about the fact too that when you're doing a presentation, the information needs to be varied. You don't want to just be talking, even though it is a TED Talk. There are times when they intersperse it with images and things like that. Also too, it says choose the fonts for your TED Talk slides wisely. That is important in terms of, so slides can add or detract from your presentation. All right, so it is important that you choose font size that are readable and that are visually appealing to your audience. The other thing too is to use animations and transitions appropriately, which means that one, your TED Talk needs to be varied in terms of the content that is being presented to the audience, and it also needs to be strategically done. All right, so how you, for example, the kinds of animations that are used in your TED Talk, and I'm not saying that you must, sorry, use animations, but whatever you're going to include, and also to how do you move from one slide to the next or from one point to the next. That is important. It must be very seamless. Remember, this assignment you're doing as is going to be pre-recorded. So you're going to pre-record your TED Talk, upload it to your YouTube channel, and then send me the link. So I'm hoping that this is also something that you pay attention to. Here it says one idea per slide, which makes sense. You don't want to have too much information in any one slide. And remember, we actually did something prior to this about the information on a slide. You don't put too much information on a slide because it will take away from the presentation, nor should you be reading from the slide. And here they have an example where they say several ideas on one slide versus one idea per slide. And remember too, that sometimes you might use an image or even an audiovisual that can actually help you to communicate whatever you're trying to communicate to the audience. Instead of having a lot of information, you can use an image instead. Sorry, as I said before, I'm recovering from the flu, so you will hear me occasionally cough. My apologies about that. And it says take care of your images. It's important that you try to use high quality images in your TED Talk. All right, very, very important, visually appealing and all of that. And again, there are various platforms that you can use for that. And you are also taught how to create a PowerPoint presentation so prior to your TED Talk. So that's something that you need to be very mindful of. All right. The other thing, some of the information I'm going to represent because your TED Talk is now due. So I want to remind you about the focus of what is a TED Talk and so forth. So let's listen.
Now by Tedx coach and also founder and owner of the professionalspeakercoach.com, Laura Penn.
So now we're going to listen again. I know that we watched this last semester, but now that your TED Talk is due and you are focusing on that particular assignment, I want for you to remind yourselves about what is a TED Talk and the general purpose of a TED Talk, okay? And where it is coming from.
Laura, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Natalie. It's great to be here.
No problem at all. Now, we're going to be talking about TED and also TEDx. Firstly, what is TED for those of our viewers that may have been living under a rock for the last few months?
TED stands for Technology, Entertainment, and Design. And in 1984, a group of professionals in those three areas got together and thought it would be a good idea to create a conference where ideas could be shared about these subjects and people could become inspired. Ideas could be spread. And that's where TED Talks were born.
What then is the difference between TED and also TEDx, which I know you're involved with?
The X in TEDx stands for Independently Organized Event. And this means that it's not the people behind TED who are organizing the event. It's a completely different group of people. It could be a church, it could be a school, it could be a business or an organization. They have received a license from TED, a free license, to conduct TED-like events. And these events feature talks, performances, just the same sorts of things that a TED Talk would have, but it's organized by someone else.
How then did you become involved in TEDx as a coach?
Well, Natalie, I have three loves. The first one is science. I'm a conservation biologist. The second one is public speaking. I'm a Toastmaster and I compete a lot in public speaking events. And the third one is performing arts. I'm a dancer and I do a lot of theater. And I merged these three loves 5 years ago and found myself coaching my colleagues, my scientific peers, who don't have a very good reputation for being able to speak well. So I had my work cut out for me, but I was helping them to create effective messages and to really say what they wanted to say better. And this caught the attention of a few people who were organizing a TEDx event in the Geneva area. And they asked if I would be their coach, and I happily signed on, and I've been a TEDx coach ever since.
With sort of all of that in mind then, can you give us some insight into what makes a good TED or TEDx talk then?
You know, TED/TEDx talks, they are an organism completely to themselves. They are a potent cocktail of all sorts of public speaking and rhetorical ingredients. So essentially you've got a formula or a structure which starts normally with a very provocative beginning. The speaker will say something that shocks the audience or something profound, and that's sort of the bridge, the in that the speaker has with the audience. This catches the hook for the audience. And then the speaker will go into a narrative, and this is a beautiful tapestry of storytelling techniques, anecdotes, all woven in with vocal variety and body language, all this sort of mixture working together, telling a story, something interesting, something empowering or passionate. And then the TED Talk tends to end with a call to arms, an action, or something that the audience can be inspired to think or do or say. And this sort of is the general formula for a TED Talk. And my job as a speaker coach is to bring out these elements in the speaker, to rehearse. A good talk has been rehearsed about 100 times. I mean, what you see on TED or TEDx talks looks like a casual conversation, a dude or a woman on a red circular rug having a conversation with the audience. It looks quite casual, but it's not. There's hundreds of hours of practice and work, detailed choreography even, of moving an arm here, of saying this here, of talking slowly, quickly. So it really is quite a mélange, a mixture of work that ends up in a good talk, an idea worth spreading.
Laura, thank you so much for coming in.
All right, so one of the 3 takeaways. So remember now, and as I said, for the persons who are just joining us, we did something before, so now we're looking back at what is TED Talk, and she spoke a little bit about what it is, and in terms of the structure, because your TED Talk is now due. So 1, the speaker usually begins with a hook, something that is very provocative, that grabs the attention of the audience. And then the speaker goes into a narrative, telling a story using, for example, anecdotes, statistical information, quotations, whatever it is, using audiovisual, visuals, text, whatever it is, to tell a particular story. And then now, the ending of the TED Talk, there's a call to action or a call to arms, where there is the intent is to inspire the audience to think, to do, or to say. So it's very important that when you organize your TED Talk, that I am seeing these 3 particular elements: the hook, the narrative, which is the body, wrapped into, developed by using statistical information, etc. Of course, however you develop your narrative is left up to you. And then also in terms of the ending, what specific call to action or call to arms is present? Is it that you want them to think about something a particular way, or you want them to do something, or you want them to say something? Okay, so please bear in mind that those are 3 things that must be present in your TED Talk. Any questions? It's very clear. Okay, very, very clear. Okay, let's now again revisit another recording that we looked at in terms of TED Talk. This time, again, it's going to help you in terms of structuring your TED Talk. So we're just kind of using the time. We're using the time to revise before I go into the lecture on speeches for special occasion. Okay, so I'm trying to just review TED Talk before we go into speeches for special occasion.
Some people think that there's a TED Talk formula. Give a talk on a round red rug, share a childhood story, divulge a personal secret, end with an inspiring call to action. No, that's not how to think of a TED Talk. In fact, if you overuse those devices, you're just going to come across as cliched or emotionally manipulative. But there is one thing that all great TED Talks have in common, and I would like to share that thing with you. Because over the past 12 years, I've had a ringside seat listening to many hundreds of amazing TED speakers like these. I've helped them prepare their talks for prime time and learn directly from them their secrets of what makes for a great talk. And even though these speakers and their topics all seem completely different, they actually do have one key common ingredient. And it's this. Your number one task as a speaker is to transfer into your listeners' minds an extraordinary gift, a strange and beautiful object that we call an idea. Let me show you what I mean. Here's Hayley. She is about to give a TED Talk, and frankly, she's terrified.
Hayley Van Dyke.
Over the course of 18 minutes, 1,200 people, many of whom have never seen each other before, are finding that their brains are starting to sync with Hayley's brain and with each other. They're literally beginning to exhibit the same brainwave patterns. And I don't just mean that they're feeling the same emotions. There's something even more startling happening. Let's take a look inside Hayley's brain for a moment. There are billions of interconnected neurons in an impossible tangle. But look, here, right here, a few million of them are linked to each other in a way which represents a single idea. And incredibly, this exact pattern is being recreated in real time inside the minds of everyone listening. That's right. In just a few minutes, a pattern involving millions of neurons is being teleported into 1,200 minds just by people listening to a voice and watching a face. But wait, what is an idea anyway? Well, you can think of it as a pattern of information that helps you understand and navigate the world. Ideas come in all shapes and sizes, from the complex and analytical to the simple and aesthetic. And here are just a few examples shared from the TED stage. Sir Ken Robinson, creativity is key to our kids' future.
My contention is that creativity now is as important in education as literacy, and we should treat it with the same status.
Elora Hardy, building from bamboo is beautiful.
It is growing all around us. It's strong, it's elegant, it's earthquake resistant.
Chimamanda Adichie, people are more than a single identity.
The single story creates stereotypes. And the problem with stereotypes is not that they are untrue, but that they are incomplete.
Your mind is teeming with ideas, and not just randomly. They're carefully linked together. Collectively, they form an amazingly complex structure that is your personal worldview. It's your brain's operating system. It's how you navigate the world. And it is built up out of millions of individual ideas. So, for example, if one little component of your worldview is the idea that kittens are adorable, then when you see this, you'll react like this. But if another component of your worldview is the idea that leopards are dangerous, then when you see this, you'll react a little bit differently. So it's pretty obvious why the ideas that make up your worldview are crucial. You need them to be as reliable as possible a guide to the scary but wonderful real world out there. Now, different people's worldviews can be dramatically different. For example, how does your worldview react when you see this image?
What do you think when you look at me? A woman of faith, an expert, maybe even a sister, or oppressed, brainwashed, a terrorist?
Whatever your answer, there are millions of people out there who would react very differently. So that's why ideas really matter. If communicated properly, they're capable of changing forever how someone thinks about the world and shaping their actions both now and well into the future. Ideas are the most powerful force shaping human culture. So if you accept that your number one task as a speaker is to build an idea inside the minds of your audience, here are 4 guidelines for how you should go about that task. 1, limit your talk to just one major idea. Ideas are complex things. You need to slash back your content so that you can focus on the single idea you're most passionate about and give yourself a chance to explain that one thing properly. You have to give context, share examples, make it vivid. So pick one idea and make it the through line running through your entire talk so that everything you say links back to it in some way. 2, give your listeners a reason to care. Before you can start building things inside the minds of your audience, you have to get their permission to welcome you in. And the main tool to achieve that Curiosity. Stir your audience's curiosity. Use intriguing, provocative questions to identify why something doesn't make sense and needs explaining. If you can reveal a disconnection in someone's worldview, they'll feel the need to bridge that knowledge gap. And once you've sparked that desire, it will be so much easier to start building your idea. 3, build your idea, piece by piece, out of concepts that your audience already understands. You use the power of language to weave together concepts that already exist in your listeners' minds, but not your language, their language. You start where they are. But speakers often forget that many of the terms and concepts they live with are completely unfamiliar to their audiences. Now, metaphors can play a crucial role in showing how the pieces fit together, because they reveal the desired shape of the pattern based on an idea that the listener already understands. For example, when Jennifer Kahn wanted to explain the incredible new biotechnology called CRISPR, she said, "It's as if for the first time you had a word processor to edit DNA. CRISPR allows you to cut and paste genetic information really easily." Now, a vivid explanation like that delivers a satisfying aha moment as it snaps into place in our minds. It's important, therefore, to test your talk on trusted friends and find out which parts they get confused by. 4, here's the final tip. Make your idea worth sharing. By that I mean, ask yourself the question, who does this idea benefit? And I need you to be honest with the answer. If the idea only serves you or your organization, then I'm sorry to say it's probably not worth sharing. The audience will see right through you. But if you believe that the idea has the potential to brighten up someone else's day, or change someone else's perspective for the better, or inspire someone to do something differently, then you have the core ingredient to a truly great talk, one that can be a gift to them and to all of us.
I'm going to make a bold statement.
Okay, as I said before, we are just reviewing some of the information related to TED Talk, because your TED Talk due, I think is on the 15th of this month. Oh, Lord, I feel like I want to sneeze. Okay, any comments, questions? No comment, no question. Everybody's okay? Okay. Anyone that started working on his or her TED Talk?
No, sir. Apart from the topic sentences that we did last year. No.
Well, not the outline, but the actual production of the TED Talk.
No, sir.
Okay. All right. The other thing that I want you to be mindful of in your TED Talk is the structure of the TED Talk. All right. This is very, very important, how you structure your TED Talk. Because when I watch your TED Talk and I, look at it, I'm going to ask you questions. Okay. I'm going to ask you questions in terms of what is the structure. I might ask you what is the call to action or call to arms. Things like that. I'm going to ask you particular questions. I want you to organize your TED Talk in a way that you're able to answer those particular questions. That if I say, for example, who's the audience, to whom are you speaking, things like that. Okay. But before we get to the structure, let me just go back through the list of persons to remind me what's the focus of your TED Talk again. Wang Su, what's your narrow topic again for your TED Talk? Okay, not hearing from her. Georgette Richards, what's your narrow topic for your TED Talk?
Sir, hold on, narrow topic. No, it's diabetes in women. I'm bringing it up, sir.
Okay.
Oh.
while she's bringing it up, Sojel White, what's the focus of your TED Talk?
Sir, my broad topic is whistleblowing. The narrow topic is how whistleblower maintain good governance.
How whistleblowing maintains good governance. Okay.
Sir?
Yes?
Okay, so my broad topic is health education, and the narrowed topic is how to control gestational diabetes in women.
Okay, all right. Geraldine Hamnott, are you able to speak? I don't remember if you're able to speak. Jerome Roof, what's the focus of your TED Talk?
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. That was the thing I wanted to speak with you about, sir. Pardon me if my background gets a bit busy. I'm still at work. I was told by a fellow student that you had changed the science. Just before the semester went off, I'd wanted to tell you mine, but the evening you had placed us in some group to do something else. It is milestones in science. The topic, the benefits of space exploration.
Yeah, I had changed that. You were probably not at class.
No, sir. No, sir. Coming down to that time, sir, work was real busy. On that note, Luke Harris.
If you want to keep it, fine, but make sure you know what you're going to talk about.
Yes, sir. I've been putting 1 and 2 together, sir, how I'm going to structure it. So I'll try my best with that is concerned. The next thing, sir, when I came on, I heard you speaking of animations. Is it that we have to incorporate slides within the TED Talk?
Well, you determine how you're going to organize your TED Talk, okay?
Could it be like we just speaking, sir?
So you're just going to stand and talk for the entire time and nobody's going to look at anything? Do you look at the other examples of TED Talk? This is why I'm showing you examples. And you have looked at several examples, and I'm sure in almost all of them, there is some image or something for persons to look at. It's not just a continuous conversation. But as I said before, you determine how you want to organize it, okay?
Okay,
if you
sir,
think that's the best way to achieve the purpose, that's the best way for you.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
No, yes, sir.
All right. Junior Rumble, talk to me.
Sir, I think it's pandemic and COVID-19 impacted the Black community in the United States.
Impacted or impacts which community?
Black community.
The flag?
Black.
Oh, Black community. Okay. Be careful of it being either, if the pandemic is still going on, then I don't know that it can be, you're going to look at it in the past tense. It still suggests, I think you would have to still use the present tense because it's still affecting the Black community unless you're going to look at it in in 2019, I think it's 2020 when it just came out, or in 2021, or you want to look at it in terms of from 2020 to 2021. That's how you use the past tense. Okay, so just be careful.
Okay, sir.
All right, yeah, just be mindful of the tense that you're using. Kamalia Harris, talk to me. What's the focus of your TED Talk, Kamalia Harris? Okay, not hearing her. Carlene Wilson, what's the focus of your TED Talk?
All right, so the broad topic is pandemic, and the narrow topic is how COVID-19 impacts supply chain in the Caribbean.
Okay. All right. Kemisha Waugh. Kemisha Waugh. Okay, Carry On Daily.
Yes, sir.
What are some of the problems faced by LGBT members in Jamaica? What are some of the problems faced by LGBT members in Jamaica?
Miss Daly, I'm not sure why you're giving me a long list. I just asked you what is the focus of your TED Talk. So can you just tell me what is the focus of your TED Talk?
So I'm gonna speak about several problems that are faced by the LGBT members in Jamaica.
So problems faced by the LGBT community in Jamaica.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please ensure, I'm going to mark you guys down if you come with your, not pronouncing these words correctly. Please remember, this is a public speaking course and we did all that speaking activity from the beginning. Okay, I'm just warning you. Natalia Watson, talk to me.
Okay, sir. The broad topic is parenting in the 21st century. Narrow topic, challenges associated with parenting in the LGBT families in the USA.
Okay, thank you. This is Oran Walters.
Yes, sir. Broad topic is animal cruelty. Narrow topic, ways in which animal cruelty can be prevented in Jamaica.
Okay. Patricia Williams, go ahead.
All right, sir. Good evening again.
Evening.
My broad topic is pandemics, and my narrowed topic, how to counter COVID-19 related disinformation in social media.
Okay, on social media.
On social, okay, sir.
Yeah. That was Patricia. Renee Richards.
Hi, good evening. My topic is my broad topic is cyber crimes, and my narrow topic is way in which law enforcement can use facial recognition technology to combat crime in Jamaica.
All right, so it's ways in which, not way in which. Please pronounce this is a public speaking course.
Ways in which.
All right, so just remember that for the TED Talk, I'm sure you're seeing my screen, right? That there's a certain structure. So you have what is called one, a provocative beginning, or let's call it the hook. Okay, then you have what a kind of narrative supported, that's not supported, supported by anecdotes, data, vocalics, etc., which forms the body of the talk. And 3, you have the, let's call it the conclude, well, let's call it the ending. That's not ending, what am I typing? Ending with a call to arms or action that inspires a person to think, do, or say. That's not think, do, or say. Okay, so I want for you to think about the let me find this now in the, I want for you to think about constantly thinking about the structure of your TED Talk, that this is how it is organized. Let me log into WhatsApp group. Can somebody say hi in the WhatsApp group, please? So I'm going to post what I just did on the whiteboard. so that you can okay, thank you. So that you're constantly reminding yourself in terms of how to structure your well, the general structure of your TED Talk. The other thing that I want that we're going to do is to
So are you still sharing screen?
no, I'm not sharing screen. So now we're going to look at the structure of the TED Talk. Again, as I said, this is a reminder. And then now I'm going to pair you up, and you have to tell me, you're going to tell the person with whom you're working, what's your hook, what exactly you plan to use as your hook. Give them a sense of what is going to be your narrative and what will be your call to action or call to arms in terms of your TED Talk, okay? So let's listen to the structure. Again, some of you would have watched this, but it's important because the assignment is due, I think, next week. It's important to remind yourselves about how to structure your TED Talk because, again, you have to explain the structure.
I want to talk to you about a day in my life that was one to remember for all the right, but also all of the wrong reasons. You see, I used to drag race cars, and this one particular day, I had reached the finals for the very first time. It was just me and one other person going head to head. We go up to the start line, and that line flashes green. We're down the racetrack, but unfortunately, he got a better jump than I did. I'm slowly creeping up as we go towards that finish line, but unfortunately, again, that finish line crossed before I could take first place. I finished in second place. It wasn't first, but it was my best finish ever. I was elated. Little did I know, my day, in that moment, I was at the peak of my day, headed for a valley. What would happen later is something my family still talks about in a joking manner nonetheless. Are you hooked? Well, any strong presentation will tell a story. It'll keep your audience locked in from start to finish. Hello world, my name is Mike Ploger here with Visme, and if you stick around, not only will I tell you the 7 different ways to structure your presentation, I'll also finish my story and give you something to laugh about. Before we get to the 7 different ways to structure your presentation, it's important to thoroughly plan your message in a rough draft. First, you gotta decide if you want your message to be informative, inspiring, persuasive, or entertaining. It can be 1 or 2 of these, but don't try to cover the entire map. Then you want your title to be the very first slide in your presentation to set the tone for what you want to accomplish. Start jotting your ideas down on paper and establish your main focal points. This will make writing your actual presentation much, much easier. If you're looking to inform or inspire, the fact and story presentation structure is a great place to start. Here you intertwine facts into your stories to keep your audience interested. You start with what is. This is the present reality or the current situation at hand. This statement should be completely factual, and from there, you turn to what could be to express potential improvements. By going from facts to stories, your audience constantly wants more. However, it is important to reach that finish line in your presentation. Your viewers will feel like they've learned something new and they'll be inspired to act, so make it easy for them to do so by drawing out exactly how they can create change. This TED Talk by David McCandless and the beauty of data visualization is a perfect example of fact and story. He combined his own data with personal stories that the audience can relate to. Our second presentation structure is the explanation. The explanation's purpose is to inform about a process, create a plan to fix a problem, or even to learn something new. This is typically used by consultants or salespeople trying to create new master plans. You start at the bottom with the lay of the land. This shows where things are, but you want to establish a plan of attack to reach your destination. You should start with a story to keep your audience excited. You then step up to the roadmap. This is an actual visual representation on how you'll reach your destination. The audience by now is on the right track. Your first steps begin the adventure, while the next steps are somewhere in the middle, laying out each step one by one by one. When you're almost there, you look back at just how far you've come. And finally, the arrival is when you've reached your destination and the audience feels enlightened with new knowledge. Try watching this TED Talk by Amy Cuddy. She explains how power poses affect difficult situations, and at the end, she even invites us all to try it in a 2-minute practice of power posing. Just as it sounds, the pitch is all about expressing an idea to solve a problem or to improve something. Have you ever seen the show Shark Tank? It's one of my favorites because you see small companies and individuals that are pitching their product to potential investors. In the pitch, there are a series of events to take place. First is the wind-up. These are facts that you want your audience to relate to and to understand. After that comes the hurdle. This is a problem or the problem that you have a solution for. Present this in a story so the emphasis is doubled. After diagnosing the problem, shed some light on the idea and how the problem can be solved. This is called the vision. Then comes the important part. Present solid options that would solve the issue. Use tests, experiments, research, data, anything you possibly have as proof in a story to give backbone to your ideas. And finally, you want to close out with your best option. Tell the audience the fine print on what the next steps to take are, and finish with the hook, the conclusion, with an added bonus to the solution. Check out this pitch by Enrique Sala. After 10 years of research, he's hoping to turn high seas into natural reserves, solving oceanic destruction and low fish supply. Typically in our lives, we like to avoid drama in any way possible, but that doesn't have to be the case in a presentation. This style follows a main character or group of people through all the trials and tribulations they're experiencing before finishing with an inspiring success story. There are 8 steps in this structure, and you start with one fine day. This sets the scene of the story. There's nothing great going on, nothing bad, everything is just fine. Suddenly, a challenge appears. This is a problem that must be solved, and you attack it with a descending crisis, but unfortunately, that just makes everything worse. You've now reached rock bottom. Your story is at a standstill. And here's a little secret. Pause for added effect. When all seems lost, some light shines through to get you right back on your feet, and with this new discovery, you're fighting to get back to where you started in the rise. Before long, you've reached the return. This is where everything is normal again. But why stop there? You've reached a conclusion, but you've also learned an invaluable lesson along the way. Your audience is inspired, they're informed, and they're even entertained a little bit with a great comeback story. This TED Talk by Adam Driver is a perfect example. This takes you through his journey of being a Marine, becoming an actor, and the lessons he learned along the way. One of the most popular presentation structures in the sales world is situation, complication, resolution. It's a very simple style, simply connected with the words but and therefore. You start with a neutral statement like, the team is playing well lately. Then a complication happens, and that's where the word but comes in. The team is playing well lately, but their best player just went down with a knee injury. You want to make sure you use facts to back everything up in your statement. It's also much easier to break down these facts when creating a resolution. Finally, you're coming close to your destination when you use the word therefore. The team is playing well lately, but their best player just went down with a knee injury. Therefore, someone else must step up and improve their play. You want to make sure you are always backing up your statements with facts and statistics. Paul Greenberg did an excellent job of this in his TED Talk, explaining how the world is overeating certain types of seafood and what can be done to fix that. Our 6th presentation structure is nearly identical to our last model. This is situation, opportunity, resolution. Everything remains the same as our last one, but the movement now trends upwards. The problem here, it's not too hard to fix. It's even looked at as more of an opportunity than an issue. These presentations, though, are often the shortest, which is where the trick lies. The audience at the end might question, is that all? So make sure you throw in a story to make your presentation more relatable and more effective. This TED Talk by Adam Galinsky incorporates personal stories and proof about the difficulty of speaking up at the right time. Our final presentation structure is the hook, meet, and payoff. This is very similar to the drama as it relies very heavily on storytelling. It all starts with the hook. This is where you're laying the foundation to get your audience on the edge of their seats. Then comes the meat. This is the most detailed section of your presentation, and it can typically consist of a list or a timeline to help your audience follow along. Then you want to close with the payoff. This is an inspiring conclusion that should reference the beginning of your presentation, and it should leave your audience feeling inspired. Think of the last time that you saw a really good movie. You likely left that movie theater or your couch feeling inspired and wanting to do good. That's exactly what this presentation style is. Jo Bolt Taylor, a neuroanatomist, suffered a brain hemorrhage, and she takes us through her 8-year journey of recovery, and she even uses a real brain to grab her audience's attention. This is one of the best TED Talks that I've ever seen, and I encourage you to click here and watch for yourself. Now you're not done just yet. After you decide which presentation style best fits you, it's now time to create a storyboard. Think of yourself as a filmmaker. A storyboard can lay out the aspects of your presentation in a visual draft of sorts. To make it very easy to visualize, create your storyboard with index cards. Each card can represent a different slide in your presentation, and by putting it on paper first, it makes it much easier to edit, and it doesn't get any easier than editing with Visme. A very shameless plug, I know, but Visme is completely free. You can edit a blank canvas with videos and animations and audio. You can edit text and images to fit your style. There are endless possibilities with Visme. And before we go, I do want to tell you to rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. TED speakers say you should rehearse a minimum of 10 times before doing the real thing. You want it to seem professional, and you want your presentation to flow naturally. Now, at the beginning of this video, I told you all about my drag racing story and how I was at the peak of my day and I was headed for that valley, right? Well, that valley happened later on that evening when I decided to show off my skills on my stilts that I owned in front of my family and friends. And well, what happens when you try to show off and your confidence is high? Well, you're brought back down to earth. Literally. I was brought back down to earth in a big fall and I broke both of my arms. Yes, one of the most embarrassing stories in my life, and I have now just told the entire YouTube universe. Thank you for listening. Hey, before we go, I do want to make sure that you do check out Visme's website and subscribe to our channel for constantly updated content. For now, I'm Mike Ploger with Visme, helping you make information beautiful.
Okay, so the focus walk you through the various ways of how you can structure your TED Talk. That's very, very, very important. Let me go to my whiteboard. What I want for you to do for me now, I want for you to create a title for your TED Talk, create a title for your TED Talk, identify state purpose, and identify your audience, what you're going to use as your hook, your narrative, the approach to narrative, as well as your call to action or arms, and the type of presentation structure of presentation structure. Where's my mouse? Save. Let's find this in the thing. Is it whiteboard? Would that be it? See. Let's put this in the WhatsApp group. Did I share the same thing or no? So where's the thing that that's not what I wanted to. I want to copy this. Okay. Give me one sec. I think I shared the same thing. That was not the intention. Okay, right. Okay. Are there any questions? Anybody unclear? Sorry. No, not unclear. Okay. All right, so you're going to work in pairs and you are going to walk the person through these by answering these questions, and the person is going to do the same thing. When we come out of the breakout room, then you're going to tell us exactly. So let's say Georgette is working with Carlene. Georgette is going to say, oh, Carlene's TED Talk is about X and Y. In terms of her hook, she intends to use this, da, da, da. In terms of the body, her call to action is da, 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 da. And she thinks that she's going to use this particular presentation structure and vice versa. So you're speaking about the other person's presentation. Okay, so this is just initiating the conversation. It doesn't mean that going forward you're not going to make changes, but I need to get a sense of where you are and what you're thinking in terms of how you plan to organize your TED Talk. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Any questions?
Yes.
No? Okay. All right, let me do some exchanging here. All right, so let's exchange there. Just looking at the names. Let's do some exchanging again. Let's exchange there. I kind of just mixing the groups, the pairs. Okay, so I'm giving you about 20 minutes, okay? So at 6:25, I'm going to close the breakout room and we're going to talk about it, okay? And I'm going to come into the various breakout rooms and just to see where you are in the process while you're having the discussion. So please go in the breakout rooms, okay? If you are in a breakout room and the person is not there, just work on your own, okay? If the person is not there, because we can't force people to participate in the process. There are several persons who are not in the breakout room. Deshauna Brown, you're not in the breakout room. Kamalia Harrison, you're not in. Okay. Somebody might have dropped off.
Sir, may I be added back to room one, please? Sir? Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, may I be added back to room one, please?
Okay.
Good evening, sir. I'm just joining.
Yeah, but didn't I put you in a group, Loriana?
I'm not sure. I don't see myself in a group.
In a room.
In
Hold
a
on.
room.
Okay. So I need to take, but I don't have any, I have to just add it to another one.
Sir, could you please add me back to room 1? I got bumped off.
All right. Let's have a conversation. So Georgette and Natalia, I know you are in room one. Lorian joined much later. So Georgette, talk to me about what Natalia is, what her plans are in terms of her TED Talk. Georgette, you're hearing me?
Sir Georgette, internet went out. So
okay. All right, talk to me about Georgette's then.
Sir, by the time she come in and we organize, nothing was shared. Because she bumped off. I bumped off. So
okay. Sir, it was a glitch because at one point Lorian and I was online, and then Natalia got bumped off. But
okay, so there was a half an hour of nothing. Room two, Oran, Patricia, talk to me. Oran, go ahead first.
she would explain her topic.
All right, Georgette,
but then by the time she was
just hold on, Georgette, because you were out for a bit. We're just hearing you, okay? Just hold on. Room two, Oran Walters, talk to me about Patricia Williams.
Sir, just a minute. I'm trying to send my thing to Oran. The internet kind of slow, sir. 1 minute.
God. Room four, Junior Sojel. Junior, go ahead first.
Okay, sir. For Chazelle, her title is Whistleblowing. Her state purpose is to inform the audience about how whistleblowing helps to maintain good governing.
Good governance.
Governance. Our audience would be Jamaican working citizens.
That's too broad. What does that mean?
Jamaican citizens.
That's too broad. A baby is a Jamaican citizen. A baby is a Jamaican citizen. Any baby that was just born in the country is a citizen. So is she also speaking to babies?
No, working class.
Okay, continue.
Yeah, the hook would be a quote from an influential person.
Can I hear the hook? When it says a quote from an influential, I don't know what that means. What is the hook about?
Should cite a quote from an influential person. She haven't done much research regarding that.
Okay, continue.
Yeah, narrative would be present tense. Usually going to do the TED Talk in present tense.
That's not what we mean by narrative. Anyways, continue.
Well,
continue, because if you guys are not paying attention and you give me madness, I will fail anybody who give me any crap. Okay, because when I'm teaching, some persons are not paying attention. All right, this is the second time I'm teaching the same thing, the same videos, the recordings have been posted, and persons are not paying attention. So remember, I will be very brutal when I'm grading the my TED Talk, because persons are not paying attention, because I don't know how you can tell me that the narrative is present tense. I don't know what the hell that means. Anyways, continue.
And the call to action would be speaking to the inner voice.
What does that mean?
Well, we haven't covered, but by this time, the Zoom room cut us off. So that's it.
Okay, Miss White, go ahead. Talk to me about Junior's presentation.
Sir, so his title is about the pandemic. And his the state purpose is to inform his audience about how COVID-19 affects the Black community in the USA. His audience is Black or colored USA citizen. Well, his hook is to tell a story by starting with telling a story. Well, we have the same narrative as I had, the present, which is incorrect.
No,
The
go ahead. You
action,
don't. Yeah, continue. I don't mind the noise. Go ahead.
its call to action is what are the different options, and we didn't get to expound on any of them for the time run out.
Okay, so I don't know what exactly is the call to action, and in both instances, I don't hear anything about the presentation structure, the type of presentation structure. Okay, anyways, thanks guys. Let's go to room 7. Carlene, talk to me about Renee.
All right, sir. So Renee will be doing combating crime using facial recognition, right? So the purpose is ways we can use facial
That's not
recognition to.
purpose. That's not purpose. Purpose always starts with 2. That is not purpose, but continue.
Okay. To inform the audience of ways we can use facial recognition to combat crime, and their audience would be like investigators, technologists, the Ministry of Justice, the Commissioner of Police, right? And I think that the hook, she said that she would have used some type of story from the Gleaner article, and that's where we reach.
Okay, Renee, talk to him about Carlene.
All right, sir. So Carlene will be doing COVID-19 impact on supply chain in the Caribbean. That is her title. Her purpose is to highlight the impact of supply chain and the ways we can improve during COVID. Her audience is retailers, manufacturers, environmentalists, consumers, supply chain managers, and farmers. We were not able to get the hook at the time because time finished.
All right. Geraldine, talk to me about Carrie-Ann.
Sir, didn't get much done. It's just the title, LGBT. It says in Jamaica. Didn't get much done at all.
Why not? I gave you guys half hour.
So no, sir.
Carrie-Ann, can you talk to me about Geraldine?
So the title cybercrime and the victimization of women in human trafficking, and the purpose is identify and find a solution towards cybercrime and human trafficking. That's so far we got.
Room 3, Kamisha. Who were you working with?
Sir, I was working with Rube, but he said he had to go to work.
Did you get a chance to? Can you talk to us about what he?
No, sir, because until he said he had to.
Okay. Are you able
to
go to work? Are you able to speak about your presentation in terms of walking us through like the title, purpose, audience, hook, and so forth?
Sir, I'm doing it now, so can I get a couple more minutes?
Okay. Guys, I gave you a half hour and now I'm hearing all kinds of stories. I gave you half hour to literally sit down and discuss and strategize and plan. And now I'm hearing all kinds of stories. This is and I'm actually very ill. I wasn't even going to come to the class. I was going to cancel the lecture. And I took some medication and said, okay, let me try tough it out and come to the class. And now you guys are not doing what you're supposed to do. Georgette and Natalia, are you able now to speak?
Sir, I can speak on my topic. As I said before, we didn't get to exchange, but I was writing down my stuff, sir.
Yeah, but the thing is, when I put you in the breakout room, it wasn't for anybody to write down anything. It was for you to have a conversation with each other. So the first person would be, so Georgia should say, okay, Natalia, can you tell me what what is the focus of your presentation? And then the next question would be, why are you doing the presentation? Then the next question would be, who's your audience? And then the next question would be, what would be the hook? And then the next question, and that's how you do it. And when you're finished taking notes from what Georgia says, then you do the reverse. So it wasn't for you to write down something first and then exchange the information. That was the plan. It's supposed to be a conversation between the two of you.
Yes, sir. But as I said, she got bumped off. So I was
No. When I was speaking generally, not in particular to you, Natalia, I just mean generally for everybody. Okay. So that's the intention, people, so that I get a sense of what is it that you're thinking in terms of organizing your TED Talk. Because how you have it on paper is not how you're going to present it. The TED Talk is not presented the same way. Somebody was emailing somebody, is it Oran and Patricia? Oran, can you speak to me about Patricia's presentation?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
All right, so her title is How to Counter COVID-19 Related Disinformation on Social Media. Right, so her purpose is countering COVID-19 false information, and the audience that she will be speaking to is social media users. Her hook, what is disinformation and how it affects a person's health as it relates to COVID-19. Her call to action is...
So say that again about the hook.
What is disinformation and how it affects a person's health as it relates to COVID-19?
That's not a hook. A hook is how you're going to grab the attention of the audience, how you're going to start. So remember, the hook is not a sentence, or a statement, What I'm asking you for, hold on. What I'm asking you for now is to tell me, how do you intend to start your TED Talk?
So I think she's using a rhetorical question here.
A rhetorical question.
Right.
Okay.
All right. And her call to action, she have do your research and get educated about sites that are credible.
I can tell you that if you give me that as the hook, I will give the presentation 0.
No, that's not the hook.
No, I mean, if that is the call to action, I will give 0. Okay, so go and do some better research. If you are looking at misinformation, that cannot be the call to action.
Okay, sir.
Not misinformation, disinformation. Please look up the definition of the word disinformation. It is very different from misinformation. Disinformation is the deliberate attempt or act of deceiving people.
Okay, sir.
So if somebody, for example, I'm not sure how many persons some years ago saw there was an image of Lisa Anna apparently in some sexual position. And when you found out it wasn't her, it was somebody who screenshot her head onto an image. That's an example of disinformation.
Yes, sir.
So there's a difference between disinformation and misinformation. The other thing I said to everybody in the class is to find a TED Talk that is similar to what you're looking at. I also said that. And this is why the structure is important, because once you know the structure that you're using, then you'll know how you're going to actually organize your presentation.
Yes,
Go ahead, Oran.
Yes, sir. That's what we got so far for her.
Okay, Patricia Williams, go ahead. Speak about Oran's.
Okay, sir. All right. So, Oran's topic is animal cruelty. Its state purpose to educate my audience about ways in which animal cruelty can be prevented in Jamaica. His audience, people who are ethical treatment of animals.
I don't know what that means, but continue.
You didn't have any hook so far.
Nothing further?
Well, its type of presentation structure is facts and stories.
Okay.
Yeah, that's about it so far.
Okay. I suggest you, and this is for everybody, I suggest you go and do some additional work, people. I want to see I need to see your presentation next week, Wednesday, before you upload it on Saturday, okay? So that we can, you need to come to class and play it for us so that we can provide some amount of feedback to see if you probably need to make some edits to your TED Talk, okay?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, and this is for everybody. I suggest outside of the class, I want you to continue to work with the person and come back on Monday, giving me a more fulsome response in terms of what these persons are doing. There are some persons, I don't think I've heard from, she was here a while ago. I don't know where Lorian Harper, who is not working, who was not paired with somebody. Because there are two rooms that had people in them and they left apparently. Room 5 and room 6. No, not room 6, room 3 and room 5.
Sir, I'm here. I was the one who joined last.
Right. Is there anyone who is without a pair? No, because those persons who were in the room, I'm not sure where they went. And I don't want to recreate
Sir?
it. Yes?
Lorian was added to Natalia, and I'm not sure.
I know, but I don't want it to be 3. I want it to be 2. But I guess she will have to continue to work with you guys because room 3 had 2 persons. I don't know where they are. Room 5 had 2 persons. I don't know where they are. Well, one person had to leave to go to work, as I understand it. But I want for you to come on Monday to give me a more fulsome response in terms of the person's presentation. Give me far more details now. All right, you need to be a little bit more. So what exactly the focus of the presentation, you know, the look and feel of the presentation, things like that. The one that and then also too, we want to discuss the mid-semester. I'm going to do that on Monday as well. All right, so let's just quickly take this in for about a few minutes and let's look again at a few things, okay? Did I turn on? Yeah, I think I did. So first of all, this is how your TED Talk, for the most part, most of persons, this is how they start their TED Talk. And then they go into the presentation, okay? So what could happen when you get to, you get up to here, then this slide now, instead of reading, not this, the next thing that comes up, no, don't want this. Before this, no, right here, instead of this being here, what would be here is the focus of your presentation. All right, so even though you have a narrow topic, yeah, put your narrow topic here. So put the narrow topic here on this particular, when you're doing your presentation. And this is why PowerPoint might help, because it helps to, remember you're being graded and I need to know what you're talking about. Okay, so this would make sense to have it there, and then you come in. If you can get that, I don't know how you like how you hear the applaud. I don't know if you can get that as a part of your presentation, incorporate it in your presentation, so it seems as if there's a real audience.
There I was.
Let's listen. Let's listen how she starts her. Let's listen to this hook. All right, let's talk about this hook.
There I was, an American woman, up to my knees in muck, wielding these strange metal boxes. I was in rural Bangladesh, deploying sensors that we'd built in order to understand why the groundwater was making people sick. And I attracted some attention. But my tech simply measured the problem. The local communities that I'd really come to connect with were expecting a solution. So I raised funds, hired engineers from the city in order to dig a deep well and bypass the arsenic and provide access to clean water. And we celebrated. But as I boarded the plane, I thought, what if it breaks? I'm an engineer. I know that's not if, but when. When the well breaks, who will fix it? How will they pay for it? And will they even know there's a problem in the first place? And I soon learned that this is all too often how life-saving equipment is deployed globally in countries with limited electricity and infrastructure.
All right, so one of the things I like with this is that the focus is not on her. So she's not in every shot, but there are times when she's showing images of persons about the nature of the problem or the problem that she was speaking about. Okay, and notice how she starts out by using what is called personalization, telling a personal story, and then linking that to her own experience in a particular country. All right, so you have to be very creative in terms of your TED Talk. Your TED Talk should be between 3 to 10 minutes in length, okay? 3 to 10 minutes in length, and you have to find ways to make it very interesting and very creative. All right, guys? We look at on Monday, we also look at the body, the narrative component of it, and the narrative is really the story, the core, the body of your presentation. What exactly are you talking about? So if, for example, you're looking at how vaccines have impacted the supply chains in the Caribbean, the body, for example, will have to have images of different parts of the Caribbean, probably images of how things are being delayed, and the delay leading to rising cost of goods or something like that. Have images of supply chains, probably images of the various wharfs around in the Caribbean, things like that. So you have to be very creative and think about it in a very strategic way. All right, before we go, any question, comments? Any question or comments? No. All right, the other thing I'll ask now is, tell me one thing that you have learned today, and I'm going to pick on specific people. Let's start with the gentlemen first because they are small in numbers. Oran Walters, one thing that you have learned today.
Okay, sir. All right. So one of the thing is the different bodies in the different parts of the presentation, sir, and that you don't only, you can use different you can use images, audios, and sir, because at one point I wasn't sure if the TED Talk was just me standing there talking for 18 minutes, right? But no, I understand that I can use the PowerPoint slide as well to back me up and use videos and images as well.
Okay. All right, good. Junior, what about you?
Well, what I've learned is that we would have to get extremely familiar with our main topic, so we can get to deliver properly.
Right.
So this will take some.
Yes, agreed.
Some researching. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Miss Wong Su, one thing that you have learned today?
That there's a difference between TED Talk and Tedx, and that Tedx is organized by someone else, like an organization.
Okay. Georgette, what about you? One thing that you have learned today?
Yes, sir. I've learned that TED Talks are not just merely just a talk show, but it is something that persons will be informed and also inspired from.
Okay. Carlene.
All right, sir. So I've learned the structure, the one that is sent in the group about the create the title, the state. It gives me a more understanding of how to structure my TED Talk, and I know the difference. Because honestly, when you speak about narratives and so on, when person were giving it and you're saying, no, it's not that, is that. So that kind of give me a better understanding of how to structure my TED Talk.
Okay, good. Carrie and Daly, what about you?
Yes, sir. But from the discussion after we came out of the breakout room, I get to understand better about the narrative and and how to organize the TED Talk overall.
Okay. All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Same to you, sir.
Sir.
Yes.
I wasn't at class Monday, and I heard that you do the groups for the other coursework, sir.
All right. So we'll work it out on. Just remind me on Monday, okay?
Okay, sir.
All right.
Okay,
Cool.
sir. Yeah.
Bye, everybody.